this computer. I just think that it's really, really important that everyone understands how to connect with people and how to invite people, because if you don't truly understand like what that means to connect and invite, you're probably not going to do it. And if you don't do this key step, you honestly won't get very far in your business. It really, really is so, so important. So I hope that tonight, by what I'm going to talk about, is really going to get your head sort of wrapped around this. And, you know, for some of like the seasoned coaches on here, if you guys like get this, you can just like mute me and just go ahead and like work on your phone, do what you need to do. But I think for some of you, this might be really helpful. So hopefully you guys have the Success Club system tracker. This is key. Like, you need this in order to run your business. This is like your Bible for doing your power hour. And I reference this every single day, because if you do the things on this tracker, you will move your business forward. It's as simple as that. When we always say this business is simple, we truly mean it. It is all laid out for you on this tracker. You just actually have to do the things that are on here. I'm a big fan of using a timer. And pretty much every single day when I sit down to work, I will set my timer so that I am not spending too much time doing one thing or not enough time doing another thing. And when, for some reason, as soon as I set that timer, I get super intentional and I don't like start scrolling. I don't start checking notifications, because guess what? Scrolling, checking notifications, checking your messages in your inbox, that is busy work. That is not building a business. And you need to understand that, because I think too often coaches, especially newer coaches, or maybe coaches who just haven't gotten that momentum, they'll scroll their phone and they'll check notifications and they'll reply back to comments and maybe answer a few messages and then watch some Insta stories and maybe do some Insta stories, and they think they've moved their business forward. But you haven't. You haven't at all. You simply just have a hobby on social media, and you are just like every other human in this world. So there's a really big difference between busy work and business building activities. So let's just quick talk about, I'm going to reference storefront a lot during this call, because I really want you to understand that your Instagram and Facebook is your store. So for me, what I do is I like envision myself in this little cute boutique, like a little clothing boutique, and it has like just all little cutesy stuff. It's like a beautiful little boutique. So I can like envision myself in my boutique. I imagine that is my Instagram and Facebook page. So you all have a little boutique or a store of some sort, right? Because you're here, you're a coach, you want to build a business. So you have a business. So you need to start thinking of your Instagram and your Facebook as your business, as your store. And when people come into your store, it would be a really shitty business move if you ignored them, right? If somebody came into your store and started looking around, or even just like peeked in the windows, and if you didn't acknowledge them and you didn't speak to them, that's like a really bad business owner. Am I right? Like, what happens when we go into Lululemon, or we go into like Bath and Body Works or whatever store? What happens when you walk in that store? Immediately someone is like, hey, how are you? Can I help you? And they'll help you find what you're looking for, or they'll just let you know that they're there, but they acknowledge you. And I think that too often what we're doing is we are not acknowledging the people who are looking at our store, who have walked into our business and are looking around, are seeing what we're doing, and we're not acknowledging them. So tonight I'm going to show you exactly how you can acknowledge them, but you first need to get your head wrapped around that your Instagram, your Facebook, that is your business. That is your storefront. So what does your storefront actually look like? When you go and look at your Instagram, can you tell that you have something to offer women or people, that you can help someone do something? Like, when someone comes and takes a peek, at your Instagram. So even go look right now at your Instagram and just see, what do you see? It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have like all matching photos and a beautiful filter, and it doesn't have to look perfect, but people have to know that you can help them live a healthy life, become confident, lose weight, like whatever it is you help women do, they need to see that when they click into your Instagram or Facebook. Because if that's not clear, then what we're going to talk about right now won't do you any good. Doing these business building activities won't really help you if people don't even see your store. Like if you have an empty building and you're just like standing in your building hoping that people will know what's inside of that store, it's not going to work, right? What do we do to an empty storefront? We keep walking, we go to the next one that has like what we want to see. Does that make sense? Like, is everyone kind of like, I just want you to get your head wrapped around like the whole store, boutique, like, okay, I need you to go, please. Okay, so now that we have—
I love that.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I love that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because sometimes I have these like things in my head. I'm like, is this really weird that I'm saying this? So I'm glad that that makes sense. Okay, I hope my husband comes home soon. Anyways, so now we have our storefront. So we are business owners. We need to act as though we are a business owner. So we have, every once in a while, and if you're a newer coach, this might not be happening very often, but hopefully you're starting to get some new followers, right? You might be like following people and maybe a couple of them are following you back. Like that's happening. Is that happening to anybody? Hands up. You're starting to get some like random people starting to follow you. That's great. So when I have new people follow me, I envision that those people are literally walking up to my storefront and they're just kind of peeking in. They're not like doing a whole lot, but they've come and they've looked at my storefront. They're maybe checking out like what I've got in the window, or they might even open the door a little bit, but they're there. So what would a business owner do? Would they just like ignore them and wait for that person to say like, hey, I'm here checking out your store. Like, tell me what you've got in here. What can you help me with? That's not what a business owner does, right? They acknowledge them and say, hey, I see you're checking out my store. You're here. Welcome. Thank you. Right? That's what they do. They don't jump all over them. Like that's a bad salesperson when they're like, oh, what are you looking for? I've got this. I've got a sale on this. Are you interested in losing weight? Like that's not what a good business owner would do. But a good business owner would say, hey, thanks for checking out my store. I'm here if you need anything. So when you have new followers, I want you to start thinking of those new followers are people who have walked into your store. Okay? So what should you do? Well, I would message those new followers. And I wouldn't message them anything like icky or gross. And I'm going to read you exactly what I send to my new followers. And this is how I actually do it. Like I'm intentional with when I message these people. So for instance, anyone who has followed me today, tomorrow, when I sit down to do my power hour, I am going to message them. So it's not like I was, out at the grocery store and, oh my gosh, I got a new follower. I got to message her. No, I'm not desperate. I'm not jumping on them. I'm doing it when I'm ready. So it's usually within about 24 hours of someone following me that they're going to receive a nice little welcome message from me. So this is what I say. Where did I put it? Oops. So I say, hey, Amber, thanks so much for following my page. I hope it brings you joy and inspiration when you need it. I share tons of helpful tidbits in my stories too, so be sure to check them out next time you are scrolling. And then I do a little happy face. So I can put that in the chat box too, but that's not gross. I'm not sending this huge paragraph of grossness. I'm using her first name. It's not that there's like how there's like those bots that automatically someone follows you and immediately you get a message. It's not that. It's actually a human messaging a human, right? So this should not feel gross to you. This should be a very simple, like, oh, I can start doing that. And you know what else you can do? If you're not getting a lot of followers like consistently because you're new to this, that's totally fine. What you can do is you can actually go through the people who are already following you, and you can send a very similar message just by saying, hey, I'm not sure how long you've been following me, but I wanted to say I appreciate it. And I hope my page brings you joy and inspiration when you need it. Something like that. So you can actually be connecting with the people, because if you have followers, you have to assume those people came and are looking at your storefront. Okay? Does that all make sense? We're good so far? Okay, so that's a very, very easy thing, and we'll do this tonight. We'll actually go through and do some of these things. So that's a very, very simple way to start connecting. I can hear a lot of screaming going on right there. Okay, so the next thing, how else can we connect with some people? So like I said, you can go through the people who are already following you. That's a great way to send that same type of message. But also what I want you to start doing is to look at the people who are liking your posts. Oh, you know what I was gonna say? My message says, thanks so much for following my page. I hope it brings you joy and inspiration when you need it. So if you are gonna send a message like that, you gotta make sure that your page is bringing joy and inspiration to people, okay? So like I said, when you need to make sure your storefront is set up in a way that doing these things is going to make sense. Because if you aren't really posting much of anything, and maybe you're just like throwing your kids up every once in a while and, you know, like talking about how you keep falling off the wagon, like whatever, that's not bringing joy and inspiration to people, right? But if you are consistently showing up on social, sharing your journey, offering tips, sharing your vulnerable story, that's giving joy and inspiration to people. All right. So just make sure that your message is going to align with what people really will see when they come to your store. So then go take a peek at the people who are liking your posts. Those people, they're in your store. They are right there smack dab in your store. And again, it's a pretty crappy move if you're not going to acknowledge those people who have taken the time to walk into your little clothing boutique and are actually saying, I like this. I'm going to take the time to like this post. So a couple things that I do is I don't necessarily message these people, but what I do is I go look at their profile. I'll click on their name and I'll go to their profile and I'll spend a minute quickly and just see what they're posting. And if they've posted anything recent, I'm going to like it. I'm going to comment on it. If they do any Insta stories, I'm going to watch the Insta stories. I'm going to comment, because then they're going to see, oh my gosh, like that person who I'm following, she's actually like a real human and she's engaging with me. So I think we're always really concerned about like getting people to engage with us, getting people to like our posts, getting people to comment on our posts, getting people to message us. But why don't we do that with the other people who are in our store? Why don't we try to build relationships that way? So spending a little bit of time and acknowledging those people who are in our store and going to them and saying like, hey, I like your shirt, you know, that's super cute. Oh, your kids are adorable. Like just making a little bit of a connection with them. I don't spend a ton of time doing this, but I'll maybe set my timer for like 10 minutes and I'll go through and do this really quickly. If you are having like 4 people like your posts every single day, don't use that as an excuse that you can't connect with people for 10 minutes. Go and look at the people who are following you currently and go and look at their profile and start to like and comment on some of their stuff. Because for like what that's going to do is you're going to show up in their notifications. So all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, who's this Natalie that just commented on my photo? And then they're going to go look at your profile and be like, oh yeah, that's that girl that's into fitness. And they're going to spend a little bit more time looking at you. So you're bringing more eyes to your page when you start to connect with other humans that are following you. And also what that's going to do in like the Instagram algorithm is that Instagram is just going to start showing more stuff of yours to that person. So it's a really, really beneficial thing to start doing. Spend 10 minutes and just do that. Just be a human and engage with them. Okay.
Oh. If they haven't posted, like, I noticed I was doing this yesterday, and because I didn't want to just start randomly messaging people that I'd never like gone and liked or commented on any of their stuff. But some of the people who were liking my stuff or commenting on my stuff haven't posted on their own page in like a year and a half. Is it weird to comment on it when it's that old? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's weird when people all of a sudden I get a like on a post from like October, and I'm like, how did you find that? Like,
Yeah.
were you just scrolling through all of my pictures or what? So I don't want to come off as like creepy that I'm commenting on stuff from years ago when they maybe only have like 4 pictures or something like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I've kind of gone back and forth with this. And if it's someone who I'm like, ooh, I could totally be friends with her, I'll still like it. Because you know what it shows them? It shows them that I actually just took the time to go look at their profile. And I think that is actually more meaningful than just liking their post that was posted 3 hours ago. Because it's like, well, that was probably in her feed. Okay, yes.
We put a headband on Dad's eye. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Okay.
And then we tied the balloon to trigger.
Oh, that's perfect. Can you shut my door, Andy? It's my husband's birthday, and he just got home from work, so we had like a little surprise outside for him. It was like a raw steak for him to barbecue and a wheelbarrow. It's like what every man wants, right? Yeah, so I think that is actually, like, she'll see that and she'll be like, oh my gosh, she took the time to go and actually check out my profile. So at the end of the day, you have nothing to lose, so you might as well, right? Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna just check these. Okay. So that is kind of some ways that I just like quickly connect with people. And also what I'll do is the same thing within my Insta stories. So the people who are watching my Insta stories, those people are in my store. They have walked in my store and they are literally watching me. They're checking out my stuff in my store. They want to know more. Even if they're just being nosy, they are coming back again and again, walking through the doors into my store, looking at what I have to offer. So how, like, it would be insane. Here we are with all these story viewers, but are we actually talking with the people who are watching our stories? Or are we ignoring them only if they message us or only if they tap a poll? Is that the only time that we're reaching out to them? Because that's crazy, right? They're in our store. And when you start to think this way, when you start to really see your Instagram as your brick and mortar business, and you will realize that all those people who are liking your posts, that are following you, that are watching your Insta stories, they are in your building, like they're looking around. So it is like your due diligence to actually reach out to them and connect with them. So what I do, how I invite, this is just how I invite, is I invite the people who are watching my stories. And this is what I send them. And again, I'll put it in the chat box. Okay, so before I say this though, I'll read you guys the message. So it says, hey Amber, I noticed you have been following along with my stories. Always appreciated. Would you be interested in some info on my upcoming Syncing with the Flow group? Hope you had a great weekend. Happy to chat with you. So this was like a message I just pulled up randomly from like a few weeks back. Now, you can't send a message like that. I am so sorry, you guys. Nerf guns. You can't send a message like that if you aren't talking about your upcoming group in your stories. Okay, does that make sense? So are you talking about your upcoming group in your stories? Do you always have something coming up that you can invite to? Whether it's a coaching opportunity, a challenge group, a free group? Like, what are you promoting? Because you need to be promoting something in your stories, I think, on a daily basis. So if you are just showing up, sharing your journey, sharing your life, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, you have a hobby and no one knows that you have anything to join. So if you were to send someone a message like that, like some of you might be like, I couldn't send an invite like that because they wouldn't know what I'm talking about. Like if you were to send an invite saying, are you interested in my upcoming group? Because sometimes I'll just say that. I won't call it anything. I'll just say, are you interested in my upcoming group? But if you aren't talking consistently about your upcoming group, they're going to be like, what is this person talking about? So then you can't do this. You can't invite. So it's like all these things have to fall into place. And that's why I didn't simply just do a power hour tonight and just tell you, okay, send a message like this, because if you're not talking about your upcoming group on a daily basis, whatever that group is, a coaching opportunity, a free group, a challenge group, if you're not talking about that, you can't invite because people won't really understand what you're inviting to. And this message is so simple to send, like so simple to send. And it doesn't sound icky, right? Like it's not a scary message to send. And so once you're inviting every single day in your stories, like talking about your upcoming challenge group every single day in your stories, like I always just throw it out after my workout. It just feels natural to me. Like, you guys got to be doing this program with me. Like, my next group starting in August. I've been talking about that. So I can send invites like this all the live long day because the people watching my stories have seen me talk about my upcoming group. So this is maybe a gut check for some of you too, to be like, oh crap, okay, so maybe in my Insta stories, I need to make sure every single day I'm talking about my upcoming group, whatever group that is, okay? So that's how I invite. And sometimes I'll send out more invites than others. Some days I don't invite at all. And that's why a power hour, like I do all these things, but sometimes I do more of something than another thing. Sometimes I do way more connecting and I don't do any inviting. And then maybe a few days later, I'm only inviting and I'm not doing any connecting. Like you have to figure out what works best for you and what aligns with your goals that week. Because sometimes I'm actually not promoting anything and that's okay. So then I'm not inviting. And I have to realize that I'm probably not going to hit any Success Club points then either because I'm not promoting anything and that's fine. Okay, does that all make sense so far? It's kind of becoming clear. So now let me just tell you a little bit about this whole process. So I don't know if you can see, probably not, but this message that I pulled up, this is what I read to you guys. So the first message I sent on, I just pulled up an old one. So this is from June 4th. So June 4th, I sent the thanks for following my page. No response. And then I sent another one 4 days later because I saw her name pop up in my Insta stories. So then I sent the next message about, you know, are you interested in joining my upcoming group? So if I go back into a lot of my old messages, I see the same pattern. Someone follows me. I send them a welcome message. I thank them for walking into my store. I let them know, like, check out my Insta stories. I'm always posting lots of things in there. And then they start watching my Insta stories. And then I notice they're watching my Insta stories. So then I send them an invite. They very rarely respond to these messages. I think that's what you guys need to be aware of. They're not messaging me back right away saying, after I've said thanks for following my page. The odd one might write back and be like, oh, you're welcome. Like, you know, blah, blah, blah. But most of them say nothing. But they are now going to go look at my page again because they got that message from me. They're going to be like, oh, who was that person I followed? Because they don't really pay attention that much. Then they go look at my profile again. And they'll either unfollow me right then because they're like, I have no idea why I followed this person. And they'll unfollow me, or they stick around. And if they stick around, they'll start watching my stories. And then if I can just get them into my stories, I know I can invite them. And they don't usually respond to the invite either, guys. Like, they don't. Most don't respond to that invite. because she had been following me for like 5 days. She doesn't know much about me yet. She needs to see more about what I have to offer, but she's going to keep watching me. That's what ends up happening. And then when I'm connecting with people and I go through my Insta stories, I can go and click on her profile and I can spend a little bit of time getting to know her and showing up in her notifications so that she keeps seeing me. She keeps seeing me in her notifications. She keeps seeing me on her newsfeed because I am getting into her inbox. So I'm going to show up on her Instagram feed. It's just getting more of her seeing me. And then you know what ends up happening? And I didn't have enough time to go back and find like a real example of this, but what ends up happening is the third message usually is, hey, I saw you tapped my poll. Would you like some more details on my upcoming group? And that might happen like a month later, but eventually these people tap a poll on my Insta stories because they want more info. So they didn't respond to any of those messages, but they kept watching and kept watching. And I'm not expecting a response at all. I'm always shocked when someone actually responds to those messages, my first connection and the invite. It usually doesn't happen, but they keep watching. And then every time they see my group that's coming up, they're like, oh yeah, that's that group she invited me to. She mentioned that group one time to me. And then they tap the poll. And that is like my little funnel. That is my system. And that's how it ends up working. And it's very, very easy because by the time they tap my poll or they randomly just message me for details, they've been following me long enough. So they know about who I am. They know I'm a real human. They've seen what I have to offer. And it's a very quick transition to get them into my challenge group then. Does that make sense? This like helping you guys to realize this like doesn't have to be as hard, the whole connecting and inviting. Like I actually kind of find it fun, this whole part of the power hour, because it's like if I just know if I can get messages out there, I can get more eyes on my page, and then I get excited to do polls because I know that eventually they're going to tap that poll or they're going to unfollow me. One of the two is going to happen, and I'm totally okay with people unfollowing me. It doesn't bother me. And another thing that I'll do too is I'll sometimes do like random, like very easy polls for people to click on. So for instance, when I got home from our holidays, I did a little thing about how like, call me crazy, but I actually love unpacking because I really do love unpacking. I hate packing, but I love unpacking. And I did a poll saying like, yeah, you're crazy, or oh my God, me too. So people love tapping polls like that. Like I had like 56 people tap that poll, whereas like a challenge group poll, I have like 3 and I'm usually one of them and Justine's always one of them. So when you do those fun little polls, you'll get way more people tapping your poll. So you know what I do with those people? I don't message them and go, oh my God, you like unpacking too? Like, no, I don't have time for those conversations in my inbox. But I'll go and quickly tap on their profile and I'll quickly comment on their last post so that they see me engaging with them. This is a relationship building business. This is a connection building business. That's what I'm doing. And that's what then ends up getting them wanting to become closer to me and wanting to just do whatever it is that I'm doing. Does that make sense? So like when people say like, oh, I did a poll about what color I should paint my nails. What do I do with that? What do I say to those people? I'm like, you say nothing. You don't thank them for picking the shade of pink. Like, no, you don't do anything. But you now know those people are watching you really closely and actually like you because they're taking the time to tap your poll. So go to their page and be a human on their page. All right? That makes sense? Okay, do you guys have questions at all? No? Okay, so then why don't we just do a few of these things? I will type into the chat box some of those messages and let's just spend like 5 minutes, and I want you to message any new followers that have started following you in the last few days or the last week or this whole time you've been a coach. I want you to tweak this message though. I want you to make sure that it sounds like you. Like I would never be like, hey girl, or like, hey y'all, but someone else might do that, right? So make sure you are speaking the way that you would speak in this message. And I'll set the timer for 5 minutes. And I want you to just connect with as many people, your followers, and tweak the message as needed. So I'm going to just stop talking and put that message in. Acknowledge this here. What do you mean you have a hard time expanding?
So like most of the people that follow me, my stories, my likes, my comments are just my friends. I don't know how to find new people to follow me.
Oh, I get it. I thought you meant in a conversation. You didn't know how to expand.
Oh, sorry. No,
that's fine.
I can connect all the live long day. I'm great at that. It's just getting new people on me. I'm still struggling with that.
Okay. We'll go to that at the end and we'll spend a few minutes on that. Okay. Okay. How did that go? So maybe you just put in like the chat box how many people you were able to actually connect with, and you should feel really good about like taking that step and acknowledging those people that are in your store. So next, what we'll do is do all of you guys have something that you are promoting right now? Like, do you feel confident inviting someone? Like, do you feel confident sending that invitation message? Anyone? Head nods. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's do it. Let's send out some invites, and because like really that's what's going to move your business along the fastest. But also just really take into consideration, okay, so starting tomorrow, I got to like up my game and talk about what I'm promoting and talk about my group more so that people actually know when they get this message what the hell that you're actually talking about. So I'll put the message in the chat box if you need it. And again, feel free to tweak it. But let's just spend like, I'll do 5 minutes. I'll set the timer for 5 minutes and go through your story viewers and send them this message. And you also can do it to any post too. Like if you have a post where you were talking about your upcoming group, you could say the same thing, just gear it towards like, hey, I saw that you were checking out my post from yesterday. Were you interested on checking out details on my upcoming group? So I'll put that in there, but however and whoever you are going to message, just try to get as many invites out as you can in the next 5 minutes. And I mean, I literally copy and paste this message. Like I'm not really changing it up much, except I'm changing out the name. So, and maybe if we'd had like a past conversation, but just, you should be able to bang out quite a few in 10 minutes. So we'll start now. Okay. Anyone have any questions? How did that go? Good. And something else that I wanted to mention, you know, when I sit down and do my work and start this connecting, one thing that I don't do is I don't scroll the feed. Like I used to scroll the feed to connect with people. Like that was just how I did it. Like I'd sit here and like scroll and be like, ooh, like, comment. But the people who you see in your feed right now are probably a lot of just like your already close friends, family, other coaches on our team, other people who you follow constantly. Like you're probably seeing the exact same people. So you end up connecting and engaging with the exact same people every single day. And a lot of the time, it's probably other coaches, like people on our team. That is not being intentional with your time. So I would just like stop the habit of scrolling and staying with your Insta stories. Like if you're watching the same people's Insta stories over and over again, well, you're not ever seeing anyone new. So going through like your followers and connecting with people that way and going through the likes on your posts and the people who watch your stories, that's a much more intentional way of spending your time connecting. So when you find yourself scrolling, everybody hear my kids screaming? When you catch yourself scrolling, just remind yourself it's not actually intentional. It's probably not as effective either because you're going to miss hundreds of people who you otherwise could have been connecting with if you had done it a different way. Okay, I don't want this to go on like for too much longer, but another thing that we could do is we could set our timer for like 10 minutes and you could just start going and connecting with more people. Like go and connect with the people who have liked your posts, more people who are liking your stories, more people who are following you, and just get those conversations started. Whether it's you leaving a comment, leaving a like, getting into their inbox via their stories, and just really building some relationships that way. But why don't we just talk quickly about expanding your network? Since Shauna had that question. Now, I am like not a genius at this by any means. And I think everyone probably has their own ways of finding new people. I keep it pretty simple at this point, and you can do this right now. So, what I want you to do is I want you to go into your list of followers and just find somebody who like stands out to you, like, oh yeah, this is my person. Like this is a person that I would love to be friends with. Or maybe it's already like a really good friend of yours, or like a family member, someone you went to school. Like, I just want you to find someone who has nothing to do with Beachbody, but who is very much a person who feels like you guys are the same. Like, do you guys know what I mean? Like, really, her Instagram feed, you're like, yes, that's like exactly how my Instagram feed looks. And, you know, it seems like we like the same things. She's also a mom, or she's also single, or she's also a teacher. Like, just really try to find someone who is just like you, that's following you already, or doesn't even really have to be following you, but does everybody have like a person? When I started doing this, I always would go back to one of my high school friends who, like, I love her on social media. So I know that the people who follow her are going to be very similar to her as well. So I've also done this with my sister-in-law. She has like a beautiful Instagram feed, and she's got a little girl and like just into like really pretty things. So I've done this with her as well. So I want you to find someone right now. Hopefully you guys all have someone. And what you're going to do, I'm just going to find someone here. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So once you found that person, I want you to go to her Instagram profile, and I want you to go into the people who follow her. unclick on that. So these are her friends for the most part. There's obviously going to be other people that follow her that are like businesses and stuff, but you will be able to see her friends. And if her friends, like if you like her and her friends like her, you're probably going to like her friends. And her friends are probably going to like you. Do you know what I mean? So as long as this is really a person in your niche market, they should like you and you should like them. So just go and start following these people. Like right now, don't overthink it. The majority of them are not going to follow you back anyway, so don't waste your time. Like a very small percentage of them are actually going to follow you back, so don't waste time doing that. Just follow. As long as they look like a human that you would want to connect with based on their Instagram little bubble, because you can tell a lot by someone's, like, you know, if I have someone pop up with like skulls and tattoos and flames, well, I'm not going to follow them. Like, that's not my person, right? So you can tell a lot by someone's little bubble. And just go ahead and follow them. Don't overthink it. Follow. And I will set my timer for this task as well. I will maybe spend like 5 minutes following people, just finding them. And then what I do for another 5 minutes is I'll stop that. And now what I want you to do is go to your profile and click on following. So this is the people who you are following. So click on following. And then you'll see where it says sort by default. You can actually change that with the arrows to go to followed by latest. So now you're going to see the people who you just followed moments ago. You'll see all their names. Now set your timer again for either 5 or 10 minutes, and you're just going to do the best that you can do in this time, because you cannot spend all day doing this because you have a life. And now you're just going to quickly tap on their profile, the people who you just followed, go click on them, and you'll know right away. Sometimes you'll be like, whoa, I do not want to follow this person, I'm going to unfollow. But if it is somebody who you're like, yeah, not bad, this is good, go to their last picture, like it, comment if you can, watch their Insta stories if they have any, drop a comment or an emoji or something to get into their inbox, and then move on and go to the next person that you just followed. Now, the reason why you're doing this is because on their end, they're going to get a notification that Shauna followed them. And then they're also going to get another notification that Shauna commented or liked, or they're going to get a message from Shauna, like oh my gosh, she's so cute, or like, that's amazing. Like, I don't know, whatever you would comment. So then what they're going to do is they're going to be like, whoa, who's this Shauna? And they're going to go and look at your profile. And if it is like somebody, if it's your person, they're going to follow you back. Now that extra step is obviously a little bit more time consuming, but I do think that it helps you get more followers when you take that 5-10 minutes afterwards to just go quickly connect with those people who you just followed. Does that make sense? You'll end up having a better like return rate, essentially. Like, more people will end up following you back because you took that little bit of extra time, and more so just because they're seeing your name pop up a bunch of times in their notification. So they'll be more likely to go and be like, who is this person? And if they don't follow you back, it's fine. They weren't your person. They didn't connect with what you were posting. So again, make sure that you are really showing up authentically and sharing your message on your Instagram feed, because the first thing that those people are going to do when they see that you followed them is they're going to go and look at who you are. Before they've made a decision to follow you back or not, they're going to go and look at, who is this person? Do I want to follow her or not? Okay. And then now that you've started this little habit, it becomes a lot easier to find new followers every single day, because then tomorrow, what you can do is go look at the people who followed you back and go click into the people who follow them. And it's like this little never ending train. Because if they followed you back and you can tell by their profile that you like them, then all of a sudden you're getting into a whole other new market of people. And then the next day, go look at who followed you back and pick one of those people and spend 5 minutes adding her followers. So it never ends. Like, you never run out of people. And if you do this right, like if you're able to really niche into some like people who are just like you, you'll just keep finding more and more people who are just like you. But if you find yourself like, whoa, okay, these people who just followed me back, like, not really my people after all, you've got to kind of start again. Like, you can't go into their followers and follow their people, because if she wasn't your person, her followers are probably not going to be your person either. But sometimes I can get on like a really good train with this and go for like a full week, just like a follower after follower, just getting into their followers and finding more people that way. Does that make sense? I know it's like a lot of words I just used. Clear? Okay, we've got a couple minutes left, so do you guys have any questions?
Megan, I have a question.
Yeah.
This is like kind of a weird question, but I know you've been coaching for what, 5-6 years now. I am having trouble, like, where I don't remember if I already have signed people up or not. And like, I don't know, like I keep going, I keep having to scroll through conversations to be like, is this girl, like, is she a client of mine? Is she not? Is she like, I can't, do you struggle with that? Like, do you have to scroll back through conversation?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes it does happen. And in
Okay.
fact, this just happened like a couple days ago. I saw I had a new coach join, and her name was really familiar. And so I was like, who is this person? Like, she joined as a coach. This is really bizarre. And I looked her up on Instagram and Facebook, and I wasn't friends with her. I couldn't find her anywhere. But I'm like, who is this person? I know I know her name. And so I sent her an email just saying like, hi, like, I just wanted to reach out. I'm your coach. I saw you enrolled on my team. Like, that's great. And she wrote back and was like, yeah, I've tried this before. But I'm thinking right now is a better time. And I was like, oh, okay, awesome. And I'm so glad I didn't say like, oh, like, who was your coach before? Because then she added me as a friend on Facebook, and all of a sudden I could see our entire message history from 2016. And
Yeah.
I'd been a coach, and I was like, oh, okay. Cause I was like, tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm like, oh my God, I know who this person is. Like, I still don't really know where we connected, but yeah, it does happen to me, and I'll have to like scroll back a little bit and be like, oh yeah, like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
'Cause
it does happen.
that's like most of my likes on my posts, and then like my story viewers, like I'm just seeing how I'm having to spend a lot of time like trying to remember if they actually have signed up before, or if it's just somebody I've been connecting with to see if they're interested. And I'm like, because I just can't remember names anymore.
I know. And you
Okay.
don't want to invite
Well,
some
I'll
friends
just,
that are like, I'm already in your group. Like, I already.
yeah. And I mean, and then we have the case where it's like my coaches follow me, or my, and it's like
Oh yeah.
that all gets mixed up too.
I have that happen all the time, where I'll message someone and invite them, and they're like, oh yeah, my coach is so and so, and I'm like, oh yay, that's so great. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. But
Yeah.
like, whatever, it's better than not. It's better than not sending the message. So I just don't even overthink it. I'm like, oh, whoops, oh well.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say something about that. Another good thing too about when you're reaching out to people who are liking your posts or watching your stories, it will, like, sometimes you'll discover lost customers from long time ago, which can easily like get that conversation going again, and you can get them back on track and get them back into your group. But you can also find people who you missed following up with, and this happens almost every time I sit down and do a power hour and look through these people, I'm like, oh my gosh, she was interested 6 months ago and I totally forgot. And then it's such a great way to be like, hey, I just, your name popped up in my feed. I just wanted to reach out and see how you're doing. I know you had been interested back in the spring. Like, I have a group starting. Are you interested? So it's just such a great way to just like get old conversations going again and also create new conversations. So I know this wasn't like a strategic, like do this for 10 minutes, do this for 10 minutes, do this for 10 minutes, but that's what the tracker is for. All of that is right out in front of you. But I really just want you to like get a sense of how you connect and why you need to connect, and that the importance of really acknowledging those people that are in your store. And like I took me a really long time to wrap my head around, like, Instagram and Facebook was my storefront. And I think I had a lot of resistance to that because I'm like, I'm not a business owner. Like, that is a scary term. Like, no, this was just like a fun thing I started doing 5 years ago. This isn't a business. Like, I'm not a business owner. That's a scary thing. But you have to really just realize, like, you know what? You are. And the sooner you come to that realization and the sooner you like step up to that plate and be like, yeah, you know what? This is my business page. And the people who are watching me every single day, they want to join me. They want what I have, and I know I can help them. And when you kind of like level yourself up a little bit in that way and be like, I don't just have a hobby. I'm not just showing up here with my hobby. I have a business, and that is okay. And I am selling something, and that is okay. And just like really stand in that and be proud of that. And then as soon as I did that, I was like, yeah, hell yeah, you're all going to get a message from me. You watch my stories, you're getting a message from me. You may be a coach on my team, but you're still going to get an invite from me because you're watching my stories, you're in my store. I'm a shitty business owner if I don't invite you and message you. And that's just how I approach it now. You come anywhere near my store, I'm reaching out to you. So
Hey, I had an idea for Camille's question.
yeah.
I just was messing around because I thought there was a way to group people on Facebook or on Instagram, and I can't find it. But there's the thing that you can do that adds them to your close friends list. And so I just did it with my sister to see what it looked like. And it changes, if you're on their profile, it changes the following bar to green instead of blue. So that might be a way, like if you sign someone up, switch them to your close friends. You don't need to go look at that list ever. But then if you're thinking about messaging them and you see that it's green, you know that they've signed up.
Yeah.
Instead of they haven't.
Yeah.
And it's a quick little switch. You just hit the following, like you would if you were going to follow them. It now says following. You hit that and then you say add to close friends. So
cool.
Might be a way to remember.
Yeah. Thank you.
It might be a pain to go back and do it with all the people you've done, but then maybe just do it as you realize it.
Well, and I don't follow all of my clients either. Otherwise, my like ratio would be like way off. But that's definitely like people, or even people that I was like tracking, I could do that. And that way it would keep me, like, I would know who the people were that were interested but hadn't signed up yet, So that's good. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions, guys? Nope. Okay, I hope that was helpful. And I just hope that, moving forward daily, you guys will do these things. And I know that, we talk about this power hour and some will say you need more time. I actually believe that to do these very basic things, you do not need more than an hour. You really don't. I have like timed it. And when you aren't like effing around and when you aren't scrolling and when you aren't checking notifications and checking your inbox and you are like hardcore with the timer and you just like get shit done, you can 100% move your business forward in an hour or less. But you have to be really, really intentional and just like make sure all of you guys have all of your notifications turned off on all social platforms, Facebook, Instagram. Like if you have things popping up on your screen all the time, like so and so messaged you, so and so commented, so and so followed you, like that is crazy and insane. Take all of that off, because that is like you're giving your energy away nonstop all day long and you're reacting to your phone. That's not what a business owner does. A business owner decides when they're going to respond. A business owner has like, okay, I am going to now work my business. And they're not just responding constantly to notifications. So turn off all of your notifications and just don't be like in reactive mode all day long, because then you'll feel like, oh my God, I worked this business all day long, but you actually didn't. You just reacted to every notification that was popping up all day long. So, okay, I hope you guys have a good evening, and I cannot wait to see who is going to be Emerald on Thursday. Bye, guys.